Hi there folks, James here from the Mad Tin Hatter blog again. Just taking the opportunity today to show off some of my other collection that I've painted in the last year. What you're looking at just now is a Soviet T-72 tank battalion. Well, it's actually more than a tank battalion because the battalion is 3 companies. So I have 1, 2, 3, and then I've got another company which is part of the motor rifle battalion, or support for that battalion. So these are set up 3mm units of 10 tanks, with the base with 4 tanks being the command. The main reason for doing these is to play Team Yankee at 3mm. It's an ongoing project I have. I've not managed to get many test games in, but hopefully now I've got my own table set up I can start trying that out. So switching from the T-72s then, I've got 3 BMP motor rifle companies. The first one is the only one that I've done infantry for, and that's a BMP-1 company. If I zoom in a little bit, you should be able to see them a bit better. So these are all Oddziel Osmi figures. I've got 2 BMP-1 formations, and the far side here I've got some BMP2s. So these are units of 12, which is the maximum size for a BMP motor rifle company. The infantry, you'll see I've got 4 the Flames of War medium size bases with infantry, and then 2 small ones. The small ones, one is a MG platoon and the other one's anti-air. And the idea is that basically each of these medium bases will have, I think, 4 hit points. So I've got these dice and frames to do something with. I'm not sure whether I'm going to maybe attach them onto the side or at the back or whatever. So each one will have 4 hit points, and the other ones, the MGs will have 3 and the anti-air will have 2. I think that gives me the same number of hit points as a Flames of War unit has. A full-sized motor rifle company, I think it's 21 hits, and by my maths that 4, 4, 4, 4, 3 and 2 gives me 21, but my maths is notoriously poor, so that could be wrong. But that's the concept anyway. I do actually have infantry still to do, obviously. I'm not sure whether that's enough to do the other 2 companies, but time will tell. I've also got a few spare bits and bobs from the packs that I've built already. On the far side here, I have 2 recce units, one in BMP2s and one in BMP1s. And behind them I've got my Hinds and my Su-25s. These models are from Tumbling Dice, and they're 1/600th scale. Up the back here I've got my Soviet anti-aircraft assets. These will be the self-propelled anti-aircraft and I think it's the Gecko, the tracked SAMs that came in the original Team Yankee. Now I've got the copy of Red Storm, I think it is, Red Thunder. There's a few other options there, but I'll test out the 3mm concept before I go about buying any more figures for it, I think. So at the back here I have the artillery for the Soviets. These are on the right, the self-propelled rocket artillery, and on the left the self-propelled tube artillery. So those would be the Hail rocket launchers on the right, and I've forgotten the other one. The Godzilla tube artillery on the other side. Now, these are Osmi figures, and they are actually pretty detailed. Obviously the underside of the gun barrels isn't cut out, and it's a very brittle metal, so you can't really do much about it, but I've painted them black and they don't actually look too bad at all. refocus them. So yeah, I've done these in bases of 3 each. What I've done throughout the collection is I've tried to look at the book to see what the options are for purchasing the unit. So the artillery comes in 369s, or 3s or 6s, I think it might be, so that's what I've done. The anti-aircraft comes in 2s and 4s, so that's what I've done. The tanks, a full company is 10, so there's 4 and then 2 3s. The only one that's wrong here is the company command should only be a single vehicle, and I've got 2. But I've done that for all the commands for the Soviets, just to make it clear what's a command versus what's a OP or a spotter team. So yeah, that's the Soviets. Switching over then to the Americans, I've got at the front here, sorry about the light again folks, I've got 3 companies basically of infantry, with the 4 M113s. In fact, is that? No, that's 1 company. Each kind of platoon has 4 M113s, and then the infantry platoons as well. Obviously these are a lot smaller than the Soviet ones, but again the plan is to match the number of hit points for each base between what I've got here and what's in the book for the Team Yankee Americans. So I've got 1 small base which would be the the Dragon teams, and then 1 base which would represent the infantry. Behind them I've got the M901s, the ATVs, or the tow launching vehicles. Over here I've got a M1 Abrams company, again in 4s, and again a much smaller unit than what the Soviets have. So what I found from the test games that I've done with the 3mm stuff is that where you have 1 unit of these as a company versus a full block of them for the Soviets, if you use the same command rules, same command distances and things, it makes the Soviets a lot less tactically, they can't do as much, whereas the M1s are all on 1 base, so obviously this unit is always in command distance to do blitz or shoot and scoot and all that sort of stuff, whereas the Soviets, you have to kind of keep them all together. There's a lot less you can actually do with them. So at the back here I have the American anti-aircraft units. These come in packs of 15, which is probably why I've got so many of them, but again in the book they come in 2s or 4s, so I've modelled those on the bases, and these are the Vulcan self-propelled guns. Behind that you can see a couple of A10s. They come from Tumbling Dice as well. I've just done them on kind of paperclip stands. Over the other side I've got some Cobras, again Tumbling Dice Cobras. I have seen a company that does 3mm rotor blades, so I might have a look at that. In front of the Cobras I've got my artillery for the Americans, and then in front of them I've got the mortar carrying M113s, is it M106s I think, and the random little base here is the spotter for them. So that's the Americans, much less, but point wise I think it's, you know, it's not quite on par, but it's a lot of points worth of Americans as well. So to stop the Americans being too outnumbered, I have this lot to do. You can probably tell by the packaging what these might be. So I've got, again, Oddsmail Osmate, and these are Mark 11 Chieftains. I've got Spartan MCTs, I've got some Tumbling Dice Harriers, some spare artillery for the Brits, Swing Fires, Milans, what are those, Tracked Rapiers, Abbotts, some Tornadoes, Scorpions, 432s, 432 mortars, and then I've got a load of other American stuff, which includes the infantry that I'll use for the Brits, because the 3mm infantry figures are pretty indistinct anyway. They're decent enough, but you know, they're too small for you to worry about whether they've got the right rifle or not. In front of these I've got some more American stuff. What you might notice is if I grab these two units here, so this unit here is M113 and this unit here is M113, and what seems to have happened is the Osmail has resculpted the M113s because these are too small. They're absolutely tiny. So of course I found this out after the fact. So what I've done then is I've gone out and purchased the ones that are a bit bigger scale. So I've got standard M113s, the mortar carrying M113s and the tow launching M113s. And I've also got some M577s, which are the command vehicle M113s. So what, well, I can't remember what my plan was for them. I think it was just to give me some options for command basing and stuff. But that's it, that's the whole lot. I'm going to try and get some games in, test out my theory as to how this works. The idea is that each base, if it's got 4 vehicles, it shoots as if it's 4 vehicles, it takes hits as if it's 4 vehicles. I mark the hits with the dice, but the idea is that, you know, there's a company, you know, you can do battalion level games and it should work okay. I've done a couple of testers and it seemed to go fine. I just need to test out how the infantry integrates and how artillery and stuff will work, but I'm confident that it'll work out. So that's it for now, folks. Thanks very much for watching. Take care.